Student section? I do? Okay, then maybe we'll do it. Yeah, no, okay, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Users? That would be, so the relationship between a student and a section will be through an enrollment, which we haven't talked about yet, right? So I think we'll do this later on when we get to the student side of the application. Students will be able to enroll themselves into a section. So a course will have many sections, and the student will, depending on how many students are already, how many seats are available, will enroll in a particular section. Right. So this here in a class diagram, a many-to-many could be captured in several ways. Right. If it's a simple many-to-many where for one recording student you have many sections, or for one section you have many students, it would be fine to just say star star, right, in a class diagram. Now, when you're going to implement in a relational database, that's actually not implementable, right? There's no way in a relational database to have many foreign keys referencing a whole bunch of things, right? You can't have, one record can only reference another record. Okay. Although this is theoretically fine, it needs to be converted into what we call a mapping table, right? Which would be an additional table that would have references to foreign keys back to the original two records that are associated, the student and the section. Right? So that would be a simple mapping table. Here, in what we have here is a little more sophisticated. This is an association class. Right? The association class is trying to describe this association. It says, well, not only is a student associated to multiple sections, but for each one of those associations, I want to keep track of something, some meta information. I want to know, this particular student enroll in this particular section. What grade did they get? Right? How well did they do? Do they any reviews that they may have, any feedback that they may have about that particular section, right? So that's information about the association. Right? Now, for implementation purposes, you would still implement it with a mapping table, right, in a relational database. Still, it would be a separate table. It would have foreign keys back to the original student and section, right? But not only would it have those two foreign keys, it would have additional fields to that, right? It will have, what grade did you get? Any feedback from that particular section, and so on and so forth. Right? If it's just the two foreign keys back to the original tables, we call that just a mapping table, just a simple mapping table. But if it has other fields with some metadata about that describe this, right, we'll call it an association table, where it's associating two records and it has some metadata about that association. Make sense? The distinction? Right. Now a mapping class would not have this dotted line. It would just have references one-to-many and one-to-many. But an association is captured with a dotted line on the association. Okay? Different semantics have different meanings. In JPA, there is no distinction whether it's going to be a mapping table or whatnot. It's captured as follows, right? So, for instance, here you have a section, right? It's an entity with a primary ID, a generated value, and there's a student table, right? We already have a student table, a student entity. What we're going to do here is that we're going to say, hey, section, you are participating in a many-to-many. On that side, on the student side, there's going to be a list of sections that the student is enrolled in. Right? The student is going to say, this is the list of sections that I am enrolled in. Right? And that field is going to be called enrolled sections. So the student has a list of sections called enrolled sections. On this side of the section, I'm going to have a list of students that are enrolled in this section. Right? Right? So if I look at it from the section's point of view, I see a lot of students. Right? If I see it from the student side, I see a lot of sections. Right? So for a given student, I'm enrolled in many sections. And from the student side, and from a particular section side, I see many students. And that's not necessarily an overlap. Right? Otherwise, in particular, there's only one student that is in particular enrolled in a particular section. Right? And obviously, that has to be the same. Notice that also we are choosing to look at it from one point of view, either from the student side. I can want to see sections, but not the other way around. Otherwise, I would get into an infinite loop. So on the student side, we're going to add the list of sections. There it is, the sections that we're enrolled in. Okay. So this is the field that is referring to those sections over there. And the same thing, we're in a many-to-many. We're into many. So on both sides, we're in a many-to-many. So now we have to specify, okay, well, how are we going to keep track of the references from the sections to the students and vice versa? Okay, so here we are declaring a join table. So we're going to create a brand new table. We're going to call it enrollment. Right, and the enrollment table is going to have two fields, two foreign keys. One pointing to the student and one pointing to the section, saying that student is enrolled in that section. Okay, so here are the two columns. Here's a joint column called student ID that is referencing the ID of the student. And in the inverse, the backwards, right, there's going to be a section ID, also referring to the ID of the section. Okay? And again, from this side, we have enrolled sections. On the other side, we have enrolled students. Okay? Because it's a very common use case, right? If I have a section, I want to know what are the students enrolled in that section. If I am a particular student, I want to know what sections I'm enrolled in. All right, so this is the enrollment table that gets generated with the two foreign keys, referencing the section, referencing the user. Okay. It adds a constraint name, but I'm going to remove that. That's not necessary. All right, so now we need to create. Say we need to create an enrollment. Okay, each the student is going to have its repository. The section is going to have a repository, and so we could go both ways. We can say, "Hey, section, enroll the student," or I can say, "Hey, student, enroll in a section," and it should be a mirror image. Right? They should be the same. I can start from one end or the other. So from the repository, I have a API section. This creates a brand new section. This is a API section, create section, and I'm passing a section object, and I'm just saving it. So that just creates a brand new section. Right? So the registrars would call this and create new sections, presumably for a particular course. Right? We haven't even referred to that a course will have obviously many sections. Here I'm so I could do that post, or I can directly insert into the table. I can retrieve all the sections, right? I can say just, well, give me all the sections, presumably for a particular course, but we don't have that. Then it would be a one-to-many. It says, given the course, give me all the sections for that course. That would be interesting too. So here are all the sections. All right, let's enroll. We can enroll both ways, either start from the section or we can start from the student. So we can add ourselves here for a enroll. So from the section's point of view, I like to be able to enroll a student. So here's my student. I have a list of students that I know are enrolled. I'm going to add that particular student to the enrolled students, and I need to go now the other way. Hey student, did you know that you were enrolled in the section? So I say, hey student, give me your sections, your enrolled sections. Am I in it? Right? If I'm not in it, well, add me, so that I know you are in my section and you know that I'm your section. Right? So that if you ask from the student's point of view, you get the same answer that you get from the section. why then these changed? What? I didn't mean to do that. Ah! I think what I meant to do is, there we go. Add section enrollment. And so from the student's point of view, it would be the mirror image. Right? If from the student's point of view, it says I want to enroll a section. So I would ask, I would update my local array of enrolled sections, and then I would ask the section, hey section, did you know I'm enrolled in your section? Am I in there? If I'm not, well, you better add me to your list of enrolled students. Unless the section already told me that I'm enrolled in there, then obviously this would be skipped. I'm already in there. I can start from either side, and it should be the same thing. All right, so we can expose an API. This API, for instance, could be used from the registrar's office, right? The registrar's office, somebody tells them, please enroll this particular student in the section, because they'll go in and say, okay, well, what section? Okay, what student? And so here I retrieve the section, I retrieve the student, I enroll the student in the section, and then I save the section, and it gets updated in the database. So the many-to-many table gets updated so that it points to both the student and the section. Or it could be the student. Right? The student, they look up they look up their information. They find the section they want to enroll in, and again, it would retrieve both the section and the student. It would add the section to the student, right, and then save the student. Right? Again, either way, right, the same mapping table would be updated. Okay? It would point to the student and the section. In either case, right, so here are the two enrollments, 6.2 and 5.1. Retrieving, again, it could be from the registrar's office. You want to find out, hey, give me all the students in a section. So I go to that section, and I say, so give me all the, this is from the student's point of view. The student sees their registrations and say, okay, well, what are the sections I'm enrolled in? And so I know who I am. I pass in the student ID. I find myself, and then I retrieve all the sections I'm enrolled in. Or from the registrar's office, I want to find out all the students. Wait a minute, what? Retrieve section enrollment. Section. Yeah, it's in the wrong place. Yeah, so give me a section and then tell me all the students that are enrolled in there. All right, give me all the students enrolled. Right, excellent. So I would find the section and then retrieve all the students that are enrolled. All right, make sense? All right.